welcome back. Today is May the 4th. It is Thursday. And when you guys see this video, it will officially be Friday, May the 5th, which is Cinco de Mayo. So I thought it would be really fun if we could get in the kitchen today and whip up some festive things for the occasion. So I want to make some homemade pico, some homemade salsa, and some homemade flour tortillas. I really enjoy doing this so that we can celebrate some of the Hispanic heritage that we have in our family. But let's go ahead and jump into it because I am telling you, I get so excited anytime we have homemade tortillas. Nothing beats the taste. It tastes nothing like store-bought. It is just so good. And plus, if there is chips and queso involved, count me in. So let's go ahead and jump into it and see what we can get accomplished today. So starting off with our flour tortillas, I have a large bowl here that has 3 cups of all-purpose flour in it. You could take the time to sift your flour, but I'm just going to take a whisk and kind of go in and whisk this dry flour to break up any large clumps and get it pretty smooth for the most part. Now to our flour, we're going to add 1 tablespoon of baking powder. And we're also going to add 2 teaspoons of salt. Just going to go ahead and mix all of that together. For our liquid portion of this, we're going to take 1 cup of water and we're going to add in half of a cup of butter, which is a whole stick of butter. And we're going to pop this into the microwave until this butter completely melts and we can mix this all together into a smooth liquid. So I did have to run mine twice for 45 seconds, but this is what you're looking for. Just your melted butter inside your water and give it a mix until it resembles egg yolks, if you will. But we want to go ahead and we want to pour this straight into our flour mixture while this is still warm. So I'm going to go ahead and get this poured in, and then we're going to get this all incorporated and mixed together until it comes into a ball. Once it all starts sticking together and forming into a ball, we're going to dump this out onto our counter and we're going to go ahead and knead this until it is smooth. It is going to be a little sticky at first, so don't worry about that. Once you knead it for a good while, probably 5 to 10 minutes, it will all come together and it will not be sticky or tacky anymore. So I think we're almost there. It's nice and soft and feels airy. Now I ended up using about a cup of flour extra to get it to this point, but it's nice and soft and smooth for me, so I'm going to go ahead and get this moved back over into our bowl. And we want to go ahead and get this covered with a kitchen towel, and we're going to let this set for about 10 to 15 minutes and then come back to it. So I'm just going to get this covered and get this moved to the side, and then we're going to move on to making the pico while this rests for about 10 to 15 minutes, like I said. When it comes to my pico, I don't have a specific recipe that I tend to follow. I always do 2 large tomatoes that I completely seed. And then I do half of a yellow onion, about medium size. I do 1.5 of jalapenos that I do take the seeds out. And then I go ahead and I juice 1 lime. If you like cilantro in your pico, you can go ahead and chop some of that too, but my kids really don't prefer that. So I'm going to take a second and get all of this chopped up and get this lime juiced and get it added to this bowl, and then we'll move forward with seasonings. So I have everything chopped and I have our lime juice in here, so I'm just going to add some seasonings. So I just like to sprinkle in some salt, pepper, onion powder, garlic powder, and a little bit of cumin. And I never measure it, I just sprinkle until my heart tells me to stop, and then give a taste test and see if anything else needs to be added. Going to get it moved over into this mason jar so that it can set inside the fridge all day until dinner time, and so those flavors can really all come together. But that is it. That's all you got to do to make some homemade pico. Okay, so moving back to check on our tortillas. They have been setting about 10 to 15 minutes while we mixed up that pico. So I'm going to go ahead and pull my dough ball out. And what we need to do now is we need to get this portioned out. You can get about 10 to 12 tortillas from this. So I'm just going to go ahead and get it all together. There's a couple of ways you could do this. You could slice it into like a pizza shape to get your tortillas, or you can just pull dough from it. But I think I'm going to go ahead and cut mine. So I'm going to go ahead and cut it down the middle, down this way. So that's 4. Okay, so that should be 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I'm going to do mine, I'm going to do 8 so I can get larger tortillas. So I've got half of my dough here, and I'm just going to get this portioned out into 4 pieces. So what we're going to do now is we're going to take that piece of dough that we portioned out, and all we're going to do is roll it up into a tiny little dough ball, and we're just going to put this back into our bowl because we're going to need to let these set and rise again for about 10 to 15 more minutes, which will give us plenty of time to work on our salsa. So I'm just going to get these all shaped into little tiny dough balls and back into my bowl. Alright, so they're all in the bowl, nice and snug. So I'm just going to go ahead and get this covered again. And like I said, it just needs to set for 10 to 15 more minutes, and that will give us plenty of time to mix up our salsa. So let's move on to the salsa. For our salsa, I have a lot of the same things that we used for the pico. I have the other half of that yellow onion. I have 4 tomatoes. I have half of a green bell pepper. And then I have 2 jalapenos. One I left completely whole with all of the seeds. And then when I cut this one in half, I left the seeds in one side and took the seeds out of the other half. It really just depends on the spiciness of your salsa that you want. And then I went ahead and I juiced 1 more lime. So I'm going to take a second and get this stuff cut down a little bit smaller and get it into my blender. Okay, so I have everything in the blender, and I went ahead and I added some seasonings. I did salt, pepper, onion powder, garlic powder, and a little bit of cumin. I didn't measure it. Like I said, I just sprinkled until my heart told me to stop. But I am going to add half of a tablespoon of sugar to this to cut some of the acidity of the tomatoes in here. So I'm going to get that sugar added, and then we're going to get this blended up. After I got everything blended up, I went ahead and I moved it over to this bowl, and I added half of a 6-ounce can of tomato paste to this, and then I just adjusted my seasonings if it needed more salt, pepper. It's really to your taste and your preference, but as it is right now, it is not a very spicy salsa, but if you did want it spicier, you could maybe add in some hot sauce to this mixture, or maybe do more jalapenos. But mine is more of a blended cantina style because we don't really prefer it super chunky. So just keep that in mind when you're blending what you prefer your salsa texture to be. But I'm going to go ahead and get this moved over to a mason jar and get this into the refrigerator. So our tortillas have been setting now for 10 to 15 more minutes rolled out into a ball. So I just pulled out one of those dough balls and flattened it out. I have my work surface floured a little bit and my rolling pin. So I'm just going to go ahead and get this set down. And I'm going to roll this out and get it as thin as I can. Rolled out as thin as I can get it, and I have a kitchen towel here that I folded in half. That way when we pull our tortillas, we can put it in between the kitchen towel to keep them nice and warm. I'm just using a plain flat skillet, but any kind of skillet will work. You just want to make sure that it's big enough for your tortilla, and you don't want to put anything on your skillet. No oil, no butter, no nothing. You want to put it on there directly as it is. And I have my skillet heating about a medium-high heat. So I'm going to move you closer so you can see what's going on. Okay, you can see my tortillas starting to get lots of nice bubbles. So I'm going to go ahead and just flip this over. Whoop. There we go. So it's going to start bubbling up, and you just want the other side to look like this and get nice and toasted and brown. And then just repeat the process until you have all of your tortillas cooked. And they're kind of like pancakes. The first one is always a little wonky, but they get better as they go along. So I'm going to go ahead and repeat the process and get all these tortillas cooked up. I want to say thank you for taking time out of your day to spend time with me in the kitchen. I had a blast with you guys as always, and I'm really hoping that you learned something new today and that you'll give homemade tortillas a try for yourself. I'm going to leave the recipe in the description box below. But before I hop off of here, I wanted to say to you to pack your bags because you me and a couple more of our friends are going to head off on a trip. We are going to blast out of here for the weekend and go on a little mom getaway. And so I'm really excited for you guys to come along with me so we can just hang out, relax, and have a good time. Take a little break from reality. But until